Hello everyone, I'm Valerio Benedetto from Ukraine and from the MIDAS Theme, and I'm joined today by Luís Filipe. Hi Luís.
Hello.
Hi. Luís is from University of Lancaster and the MIDAS Theme too. Today we are going to talk about thinking at the margin. So this is a new vlog of our health economics series, and we are talking about probably one of the most important concepts in economics. So I will start with sharing my slides. Often the choices we make between different alternatives, different options, are not an all or nothing choice. So it's important to think that there are choices we make, and there is a reasoning behind each choice we make. And in order to decide what's best for us, we think about the costs and benefits of each option implicitly, without even taking out a calculator and start calculating cost and benefits. But we do that implicitly in our minds. For example, we might decide to spend just 1 hour rather than 2 doing outsource this weekend, and spend this gained hour in adding more time for a walk outside. Now, Luís, what would you do, for example, this weekend? Would you rather spend 1 hour doing outsource? Would you rather spend 1 hour going for a walk outside?
Now, if I want to be very like economics, I would say it depends on the utility I get, but it's whether you will be happier if you spend the 2 hours, in this case, doing your house chores, which is difficult, but you need to do them, right? Or whether you will be more happier if you spend 1 hour doing one and the other hour doing the other. So you kind of need to look at these incremental gains.
Exactly. Luís has just introduced a very useful concept here, like incremental gain, and marginal and incremental are often used interchangeably in economics. So you can see the word incremental, additional, marginal, and they usually mean the same thing. So in economic terms, we will need to determine the cost of giving up that hour doing chores, which is called opportunity cost, and compare it against the benefit we will gain from having an extra hour for our work. The opportunity cost is really the cost of giving up a specific alternative, in this case, doing house chores. So this cost might be little, might be big, and we need to consider whether this cost is bigger or smaller than the benefit of doing the extra hour of work, for example. And the question we ask ourselves every day is, what is the marginal benefit gained by changing the allocation of resources, okay? By spending 1 extra hour doing a work, or spending 1 more day doing a specific activity, or spending 1 more pound on a specific thing, okay? In economics, there are techniques available which allow us to quantify this marginal benefit, okay? So for example, if you consider spending 1 extra day of holiday, you know you're giving up an extra day of work. So you're giving up a certain amount of salary there. So you can quantify that kind of cost attached to having an extra day of holiday, sorry. But if that cost is smaller than the extra benefit you're gaining from the holiday, you might go ahead and book an extra day of holiday. So if you think about the example of spending an extra pound on a specific product, we can kind of convert that example in health economics. In healthcare, we might decide to spend £1 million on a new treatment, but that £1 million means that we are giving up investing money on an alternative treatment. So we are making choices between treatment, and ultimately we're making choices between services which we can make available to patients. Okay. In this example I want to present now is I'm trying to focus on the choices from 2 alternative interventions. There is hypothetically a new treatment which we can use to treat mild depression, and we want to compare this new treatment against an exercise program, which is our usual care, so what is provided routinely in the NHS, for example. And there are two options in terms of how we go about resolving this problem. One is to think in overall terms. You will see here an expression which is average cost-effectiveness ratio, which sounds quite complicated, and I will explain in a minute what I mean with that. And the other option we have is to think in marginal terms. Now, Luís, have you heard of these expressions before, I guess? And what do you think is going to be the best for from an economic point of view?
To be honest, I haven't heard about them before talking to you because I didn't do a lot of work in economic evaluation. But still, yeah, I think most of the times you probably want to look at incremental things unless you are comparing things that are equal, that give you the same amount of something, and then you just care about the one that is cheaper.
Yeah, yeah, that's the key decision. Yeah, and I'm going to show you now in practice. In this particular example, we try to measure effectiveness, which means how well the alternative interventions did, by calculating how many depression-free weeks were triggered by each intervention. So we build this table here, where on the first column to the left, we have our two interventions, the exercise program, which is our usual care, and the new treatment which we are trying to test or evaluate. And then you can see two columns in the middle with the costs and the effects. So in particular, for the exercise program, we will need to incur £2,000 in terms of costs. From the exercise program, we will get 42.50 depression-free weeks. And from the new treatment, we will get 43 depression-free weeks. So you can already sense there is a bit of a trade-off going on here, because the new treatment is clearly more expensive, but it seems to be more effective. It seems to produce a bit more depression-free weeks, okay? So there is a problem in terms of deciding which intervention is more cost-effective here. And that's what in economics we call a trade-off, again, another very common term. And we need to decide really what is the best here, what is the best option. Now, if we're thinking at the average, we will calculate the ACER, which is our average cost-effectiveness ratio, which is simply calculated by dividing the cost by the effect. So you got £2,000 for the exercise program divided by the effect of the exercise program, which is 42.50. And that gives us an ACER of £47 approximately. Now we can do the same for our new treatment. We divide the costs by the effects. So we got £10,750 divided by 43 depression-free weeks, and we get an ACER of £250. So just by looking at the two ACERs here, Luís, what do you think in terms of the number? What will be your preference, if you have any preference?
Okay, so my answer is I got trained in economics, and the most important thing I learned is that whenever whenever an economist makes a question, you answer it depends, and you get it right in 99.9% of the times. So even if I knew nothing, I would say it depends. But yeah, that's what I told you before. Like, if they give you exactly the same thing and there is no trade-off, you just need to compare the average costs, the ACER, the one that is more efficient, the one that is cheaper per output. It's obviously the one that you are going to choose. Now, in this case, it's really a matter of, is it worth paying? How much more is it? So more than £8,000 for that half a week depression free. If it is, then maybe you go for the new treatment. If it is not, maybe you stay in the first treatment. And I think that is your answer, right?
That is my answer, correct. So, but it's really key here to consider that the ACER is leading us to consider things a bit incorrectly, let's say, because the ACER is comparing the cost per outcome or per effect, let's say, for the two interventions. But really, the exercise program, we should consider the exercise program as a given, okay? This is what happens in day-to-day in the NHS. The NHS is providing the exercise program, and the exercise programs gives us 42.50 depression-free weeks. Now, given what the exercise program is already accomplishing, what more can we get from the new treatment? That's the question we need to ask ourselves. And that's why it's important to kind of enter an incremental framework. And we do that by calculating the differences in cost and the difference in benefits. In particular, the difference in cost is £8,750, and the difference in effect or the difference in benefit is 0.5, which is 43 minus 42.5. And the ICER is simply the division of these two numbers. So difference in cost divided by difference in effects, and we get £17,500. So that means to get one extra depression-free week, we will need to spend £17,500. Now, as Luís was saying before, there isn't really a clear-cut rule here. It depends. It depends whether we are willing to pay for that. It depends whether the decision maker, in this case the NHS, is willing to pay that amount of money for that extra depression-free week. And there is no clear-cut rule, as I was saying before. It's really a matter of willingness to pay on the part of this person making the decision. I might be happy to pay that amount. Luís might not be so happy to pay that amount. Another person might be happy, and so on and so on. Now, this was our first example of how thinking at the margin applies in health economics. In our next video, Luís will present another example of how thinking at the margin is really permeating health economics. So we'll see you in our next video, and thank you for your attention today.
Thank you.